Well, you can do all those things and so much more. Just grab a seat in the chair or the floor. Sit back, relax, recline. Well, she drops another casual line. You're tuned into Casually Molly with Molly and Bergie.
Welcome back to the Casually Molly podcast. Again, I am your host, Molly Ambergy. Unless you're actually newly turning in, I just assume that was probably a big assumption. Doesn't everybody know who I am? But welcome back, or welcome to the Casually Molly podcast. I am so excited to introduce my guest here. She's also a friend, so it's like weird being like, she's a guest, she's a friend, she's a comedian, she's a producer. Family. I love it. Family, friend, comedian, Cori Stewart. Based here in St. Louis, Missouri. How are you?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for having me, Molly.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. It's funny always interviewing like friends just because I'm like, it's just nice to hang out.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. You know, I've been busy. Just got back from Kansas City this weekend. Did a couple of really fun shows there, and I am barreling straight into the holidays.
Oh yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Well, this is actually a special episode. Usually every year, I think last year we kind of had to skip over it, but we do a holiday episode. Angela Smith Winfrey did one a couple of years ago with Casually Molly. You'll have to check that out via audio. But now we've got Cori Stewart, holiday phenomenon. Why don't you tell us about your holiday show you have coming up?
Sure. We are doing a benefit called Ha Ha Holidays, Hilarity for Charity, and the show is going to feature 5 excellent St. Louis area comedians. We have Angela Smith, we have Matt Barnes, Chris Sear. I'll be doing a set, and then Ella Fritz is going to be hosting it.
Yes.
In addition to the show, we are going to have a pop-up vendors market. Some of the booths that we'll have there include Megan Phelps. She's going to be selling art.
Yes, previous podcast guest as well. Love her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll have Josh Timbrook, who is selling his candles. Mm-hmm. I make wood burnings and carvings, and so I'll have those available. We have cakes made by Emily Cakes, all kinds of things, jewelry, all of your holiday needs. And so if you are concerned about shipping, any issues with getting gifts, you can come and buy local gifts and also support a really great cause, because the donation from the benefit show is going to go to 2 families who are experiencing housing insecurity this year. And then all of the proceeds from my vendors' sales are also going to benefit the families.
That is an amazing concept. That last part I didn't know. So that's very inspirational to me. I mean, I'm so excited, and I'm sure to anybody listening. Can I ask, like, what brought this idea on? Like, when were you like, you know what, I'm going to combine comedy and then also artistic vendors?
I think that, well, last year during the pandemic, because everyone was kind of so isolated and so many families were affected by COVID and job loss and things of that nature, I decided to try and make an impact in a small impact the best way that I could. And so I made ornaments on canvas, painted ornaments, and accepted donations for those, as well as upcycling thrift paintings. And so for one family, I was able to raise about $450 towards utility bills and Christmas presents for the ladies' children.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this year I decided, since the world is a little more open, to try to expand that concept a little bit and see if we could raise more money for a couple more families. And I would like to, my vision is to see it expand every year. I think while we should be charitably spirited year round, I think at Christmas time, around the holidays, people are particularly nobly minded,
Yeah.
they are more generous and maybe a little more open to giving. And so this is kind of using that to do good things, I think. And I think most of the comedians that I know are even if they can be prickly people, they are at the heart of them kind, empathetic.
I actually have found that more prickly people, that is a great way to put it too. I love that, have been some of the most kind-hearted people I've met. Like you're kind of like, oh, I'm afraid to approach you. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, you're a softie underneath. You might be a little hard shell, but I'll crack that open.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I think finding the funny parts of course, being a stand-up comic requires kind of a critical worldview, and being able to find the funny, soft bits in that critical eye requires a lot of kindness and empathy. And I think that most of us have that ability.
Oh, absolutely. That's how I was raised. Like, you see a lot of sadness and a lot of criticism. And even sometimes, like even today, it was like, we're recording this on Monday and then we'll release it later this week. But I was like, this has been the shittiest Monday I have had. And I really was trying, like, I had some issues at my day job. I was like really upset. And, when you're in customer service, you deal with a lot of crazy people. And then the kindness of others reminds you, like, oh, that's right. Like, I got a free cake pop at Starbucks today because they were like, you're killing it and thank you for being nice. And I was like, thank you. Like, just like a little cake pop just makes those moments. I also like how you addressed when you were saying, like, even though we should be giving all year round, Christmas kind of brings that noble mindset. Yeah. And I have always seen why I love the holiday season, at least, and you can comment on this too, is that I feel like it's kind of like a reset. Like you're like, we go through the year and I feel like we're always like, not to be like hustle and grinding, but we really are, like, even if you're not talking about comedy, like anything you're doing, if you have a family or you have kids or your day job or whatever you can relate to, it's always kind of go, 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 go. And then when Christmas comes around, you're like, not everything is about me. Like, I have to remember that, I can make connections with people in the world and give back. So I really admire you for doing that. Do you feel the same way, sort of? Or
I feel like, especially maybe Christmas, especially New Year's, we have this idea of renewal. There's this idea that we can be better. And I am not necessarily a ho 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 holiday person, but I am like a spirit of compassion holiday person, so I don't necessarily get into decorating my house, but I do get into remembering to volunteer a little bit more or give a little bit more. Briefly while I was married, I was a put up a tree person, but that's, but not so much anymore. And my daughter's an adult now, but I really love, I love food drives this time of year. I love all of the benefits that are open and available to, participate in or go to.
Absolutely.
Those are the things that I really like about this time of the year.
Sure. And that it reflects, again, go see the holiday show. Again, can you just state the date really quickly?
It is December 16th. And the pop-up mart starts at 7:00, and then the show itself will start around 8.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm excited about this show because it reflects Cori and it also reflects everything that you just talked about. Great comedians are on it. I love that we're showcasing local talent as well as local artistry here in the area. Everything kind of works hand in hand. Why don't you tell us a little bit, though? We kind of talked about this. For those of you who don't know, Cori's been a previous guest on the podcast. And we talked about, I remember when I first met you, you were wonderful. I don't know
Back
how to say it.
at you.
Thank you. No, I just remember I met you. I think it was like maybe the Heavy Anchor one night, but I remember I was like, we had an immediate connection.
Yeah.
I loved your go-getter attitude. Like you had a show in Illinois that you were running. And I was like on the first showcase for it.
Yeah.
I was like, I just love this like go-getter girl. What made you decide to get into comedy? And now you're, producing showcases and all this stuff.
I did through my 20s, like once a year I would do an open mic.
Sure.
And I always really, really loved it. I did. When I was in high school, I did speech and I did original comedy speech, which was very, very hard because you had to be funny without being, profane.
Yeah.
You can't say D's and F's in high school speech competitions, unfortunately. But it was kind of, I loved it. I loved, you did like a 7 or 8 minute set, and it was different than doing stand up. It was more storytelling oriented, I think. But that kind of fostered my love for stand up. And I would get up. I had my daughter very young, and so my free time through my 20s was fleeting, to say the least. And finally, when I was, fast forward, I went through law school, didn't have a lot of free time then, establishing a career. When did I start? 3 years ago. I had my daughter as an adult. I have so much more free time, which is nice. And so I have much more time now to focus on things that I really love and that bring me, like extracurriculars that bring me joy and that kind of, make me happy.
Yes. Well, what I appreciate about your comedy, I know that people sometimes like, in your position or anybody I've kind of maybe interviewed that said that too, where they're like, oh, I started on after I did all of these other accomplishments prior. What I like about yours is you have so much life experience that you incorporate into your comedic sets. Like I loved when you were talking about being in the roller skating
I did roller derby.
Roller derby. Thank you.
Like a year post divorce.
Yes. But I'm like, what a unique and amazing experience at the same time. And you're able to curate a joke with that. You incorporate your family life into it. What I was going to say is, sometimes when I've been starting to talk about my family too on stage, which took me a minute, and, there's kind of a scary vulnerability in talking about that. So when did you kind of reach that point in your comedy where you felt comfortable talking about your life experiences in it?
There are still some things that I feel very guarded about. Like I don't talk a lot about dating or relationships because it's something that I like. It's funny because a lot of stand-up comedians are like, oh, this is my therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm too, like, around that particular part of my life, I feel like I'm too screwed up to even use stand-up as therapy for that. But as far as, like, my family, it's a dark joke, but I did a joke about when both of my parents got sick. And I do jokes about how hard it is to live with my now adult daughter. And it's cathartic to find the funny stuff in that. And I think that it can be, it can connect with people, both people who are my daughter's age, who are experiencing that, like living with their parents or their relationship with their parents, but it can also connect with people who are my age or a little older, who are kind of navigating a changing relationship with their child transitioning into adulthood. That's been pretty hard for me. It's hard to navigate that big relationship change.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when there's something, as you were talking about, like cathartic, but also scary about sharing that with a group of strangers. Being like, so here's my life. And I think sometimes we go into, at least for me, I didn't always talk about my family on stage, really. Like I would always be like, when I first started comedy, I was like, all I talk about, I'm Italian, I'm loud. Like, but that was very easy and very like normal to talk about. And even though it wasn't deep material, I just, you don't really know what your voice is when you're first starting out. So I really commend you for that vulnerability. But I also understand too, it's like, well, somebody judge me for this because you're usually judged by the outside world. So, but what's really beautiful, at least for me, at least I find it as a beauty in comedy, is that people are all struggling.
Yeah.
And so knowing that somebody else is having that life struggle as well, it's like, not only are you laughing about it, you're giving other people permission to laugh about their issues too, whether they're with yours or they know somebody that way. So I really commend that personally. For me, at least, I love the writing. What I'll ask you too, because you were kind of touching on this a little bit, starting out and then doing comedy now, do you feel like you've kind of had that personal growth and change in writing?
Yeah. And there are always things that, of course, and you know this, there are always things that comedians want to improve and work on. Like after going to a different city for the weekend, I feel pretty confident at most of the mics and shows that we do regularly. And so I felt a little off there. And that is somewhere where I would like to grow. There are a lot of areas that I noticed that I need to improve in just by being out of St. Louis, kind of out of my
comfort zone.
Right. My hometown. And so that is something that's a goal for this upcoming 6 months, is to try and pick a different city and do some shows outside to kind of get a little more comfortable around other people. And also I've found that as you get more comfortable performing, I think that it's easier to just talk to people, you know, and rather than having kind of I was dogmatic about having a written out set until, I don't know, a few months ago. And so that is something that, like, every week I try and set, you know, if I'm going to do these mics and this is what I'm going to work on this week. And so whether it is, I have a bad habit of like kicking the microphone cord while I'm talking, kind of like shuffling.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I never noticed that.
Yeah. I like do like a little soft shoe while I'm
little vaudeville over here. Yeah.
Gonna kick this around.
I love
but
it.
It's like a little, you know, it's like a little twitch. It's a little thing I do. Just kind of, I took tap for 10 years.
Did too. So I'm kind of like in love with this. I do a lot with my shoulders. Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah. And I'd like to, like, I found that I want to do goofier things. Like when I talk, I sing all the time. Like I randomly break into song.
No wonder we get along so well. I feel the same exact way. Go ahead.
I'm like, when I'm talking to someone, I sing like half of our conversation. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I want to, like, rather than be disingenuous, I want to incorporate more of my authentic tics.
Yes.
In a fun way into my sets. And so that's something that I plan on working on this year. I've also found that I really enjoy doing not just stand-up, but like stranger kinds of shows. And so I want to start to produce some of those, because St. Louis doesn't really have a lot of those. And so Teal Pierce and I are working
Teal
on...
Pierce? He's a local comedian, for those of you who don't. I love Teal Pierce. Yes, he's wonderful. Yes. So Teal Pierce. Okay, sorry, go ahead. There's our vaudeville dance. Yeah. Teal Pierce. Okay.
So we're talking about doing a series of kind of... My idea for them is like... it's just going to be called The Show, but then there's going to be a different kind of show every other month or so. So the first one is going to be the talent show, I think. And so that will be similar to a junior high school talent show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What?
Yeah. Yes. And then, like a variety show kind of feel.
I love that. Yeah.
So I think that it would give local comedians the opportunity to try something different.
Yes.
Like maybe do some jokey jokes, but also, you know, try and incorporate a different kind of performance. But also, you know, if there are touring comics or people who are looking for spots in
Sure.
St. Louis, you know, it would be kind of a loose format to give people an opportunity to jump in and try something different.
Well, I'm very excited. We'll stay tuned to that for next year as well. I love that you brought out, like, because, you know, obviously stand up, we both do that. It's definitely something that you kind of fall into first. You see people on stage, it's a mic, and you're like, okay, like, you know, I could probably try this and go to the different mics, but sometimes there isn't always an outlet for those shows that you were talking about. Tree Sanchez, who's another comedian that we're friends with here in St. Louis, she did a sketch show one year.
Yeah,
for
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was 2 years ago. That was immediately before.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite experiences, though, because I remember she gave me this monologue, and I was a doctor in a lab coat, and I had like these glasses.
Yeah, it was such a fun show to watch. And boy, she's incredible, right? Because she produced it and wrote all of the whole thing, and wow.
It was
so
just
impressive.
I missed that. I was like, oh, like, you know, being in theater, I don't really get to do that much anymore because most of the time stand up kind of takes over. So it was just really cool. I was like, I couldn't believe the response that, you know, you get from that, where people are like, oh, that Molly, it was kind of cool to see you like in a lab coat.
Yeah, I think it would be so fun to see like people doing different things. Like Ronaldo is like, I did magic and you're like in junior high school.
There's
Of
so
course
many
you did,
comedians
Ronaldo.
who did magic. Like Lucas Hinderleiter came on the podcast and said he did magic. I'm like, what the heck? Like, where are these magicians? I love this. This is great. All right, we're gonna have a comic magic show starring Ronaldo.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
yeah, there could be the magic show.
Yes, I love it. Okay, perfect.
I wonder if he can saw a lady in half.
Oh man.
You think that's too much? That's probably too much.
I think that's too much.
That is too much.
And, you know, maybe in your next production meeting with Teal, you'll have to talk about it. Be like, so what do you think? We got the talent show, the magic show.
Should we give Ronaldo a real saw? I don't think we should.
Who knows? Who knows? You know. But that's very, very cool. I was going to ask you, you were talking about going to different cities as well. We recently just did a show in Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, I love Springfield.
Oh, yeah. It was so fun. We had a good time with that. And I love the Buzz Bomb Brewery there. That was actually one of my favorite shows just because it was an all-female lineup. A lot of fun. And then you recently just went to Kansas City.
I did.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I went to Kansas City, had an excellent time. I did the Tugay show with Dorian DeBose at Queen Priscilla's, and I think that show runs every other week, and there's a rotation of hosts.
Okay.
It was really, really fun, and the format was really fun too, because after your set, Dorian as host would kind of like do some silly interview questions. That was great. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was spectacular. Steven Taylor was on that, and Aaron Naylor, and they were great.
I love Steven Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did a show at Strange Days Brewery in downtown. Well, it's right next to the open air market.
Sure.
In Kansas City, and that is hosted by Matt Rich, and it was full of funny people. Dorian DeBose was on that one too. Love him. He's so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, he has like a direct line to my funny bone.
Oh, I love that.
I just think he's so great.
Oh, good. No, that's really great to hear. I was like, we were kind of touching on it. I was like, oh, let's save it for the podcast. We'll come and talk about it on Kansas City. Kansas City is a really cool city. I really
too.
Like it. Yeah. You know, I absolutely loved like the last time I was. It was a good time. Were there any like favorite spots that you went to while you were there?
I worked during the day Friday.
Sure.
So.
That's okay.
I just did the show.
Okay.
But a Strange Days Brewery was super cool.
That's what
it was really,
perfect.
really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
And I think Queen Priscilla's is a new restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And so it was, the food looked excellent. It smelled really good. I did not eat, sadly, but it looked really, really good.
Awesome. Some good plugs. That's what we're looking for here. So if you're in Kansas City, check out the 2 places that Cori just mentioned. So I loved Kansas City. I went to the art museum there too.
Yeah, I want to check that out. There are so many things there that I should have.
Well, we'll just have to make a trip, Cori.
Yeah, let's do it.
Girls
let's
trip.
do it.
Love it. But yeah, it's good to get out and travel, and I've loved meeting comedians the more that you're on the road and whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love our St. Louis community here, of course. Mm-hmm.
We have excellent, supportive scene here with so many people who are wonderful and always willing to help and give advice. Of course, Chad Wallace has been coming. Yeah, Chad. He's been coming to the mic that I am doing in O'Fallon every week. And he is really trying to help kind of foster, I don't know why there's a disconnect between Illinois and St. Louis, but like it's only 15, 20 minutes.
It's true. Yeah.
But it's hard to get people from there over to St. Louis, and it's hard to get people from St. Louis over to Illinois. So Chad has been coming over, and we're kind of looking at venues around there for showcases and things. I know that we will, first of all, Vince Opper and Jerry Wall are planning a showcase.
So many good names that we're like coming up with here. I love it. Yes.
They're planning a showcase on January 14th in O'Fallon at the same place where we are doing the mic, which is the American Legion Hall in O'Fallon, Illinois. Okay. And so that will be on the 14th and
of December or January?
January. And Clay Foley from North.
That name sounds super familiar. See, this is the thing too with comedy. Like you see names and you're like, so I feel like I know who you're talking about. I just don't know if we've met in person.
Sure.
Social media, man, just doesn't have time.
Yeah, I have 280 comedian friends that I've never met.
Yeah, totally. Of course.
Just strangers or just friends you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. But isn't that everybody? Hey, a friend is just a stranger you haven't met yet, or a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. Something like that. There we go. It's like something.
I think we're just making it up.
All right, I love it. I'm like, it's a friend, it's a stranger, it's a guest. Oh my gosh, I love it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So. That's it.
That was it.
That's it. Let's make friends.
And that's it. And we're done now. And the curtain goes down. Vaudeville. Yes. But that's really cool that you're doing that, though.
I think that we are going to look at doing those kind of like quarterly there, doing showcases at the American Legion, depending on how the first one goes. And so if you're listening to this and you have any interest at all in comedy, which you may have if you are listening to this particular podcast.
True. Or you just like me and Cori. So, whichever one.
That's
or both.
fine too.
There you go.
It can be both.
It can be both. I love it. But yes, PSA, go ahead. So.
Yeah, come over on January 14th or any Sunday. If you want to do a great open mic Sunday evenings right now, it's kind of the only game in town for open mics on Sundays. Funny Bone occasionally, but this is every Sunday, friends and neighbors. Come and do it.
Yes. And that's what's really exciting is, when I'm running and that's the thing too, like I'll run the St. Louis Independent Comedy website and then there's so many dates that change for mics. Yeah. But what I love about you're so professional. You're like, here's the date. And if it changes, you're like, we're not doing that anymore. And I'm like, I love it. I'm like, Cori is like the most professional person. What made you? Oh, of course, girl. Yeah. And I say it like,
I don't feel that way, but I appreciate it.
Well, sometimes I don't either. And people are like you were so sweet once. I was like having such a weird day and you're like, you're a really good person. And I was like, I don't really feel like a good person.
But you are. You're just such a ray of sunshine and just lovely to be around.
I'm
always happy when I see you.
Well, see, that's how I feel about you. I mean, again, that's why, like I said, when I first met you, I was like, oh, she's so like intelligent. That's the thing. I was like, I didn't even finish my master's and this girl's like in law school. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I love it.
That was the worst choice I've ever made.
How many years were you in law school?
Well.
Oh, here we
go.
And here we go.
It took me. So I took my first college class when I was 11 years old. I took the ACT when I was 11 years old. I got to take a college course. It took me 11, 16 years to get my associate's degree from
That's
the
okay.
same community college where I took my first college class when I was
So you took
11.
a test at 11?
I took the SAT. I'm sorry. I took the SAT when I was 11 years old.
I'm still very impressed. I had no idea you could do that at 11.
It was part of what I have learned was that it was part of a study that followed, it was, I think over the course of 5 years, they gave, test groups of 11, 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
I was in 5th or 6th grade. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Just brilliant. I can't remember any of these.
No one
facts,
ever asked
but-
me to be maybe in a sleep study. That was about it, or a cheese study, but that's really about all I got out of it.
I just can't imagine what they got out of following me for the course of my adulthood, because I got pregnant when I was 17. I was a terrible alcoholic by 21. I was in rehab at 25, and then what do they get out of this? What data have they extrapolated out of this? I don't know. Maybe there's a correlation.
That you may go through hell and high water, but hey, you can still take the SAT at 11 if you're Cori Stewart.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You're a genius, dude. I have so much respect right now. Oh my God. I had to take the SAT twice just to get the score that I wanted. And I think the same with the ACT. I took it twice just so I could get a high score. I was like, oh God.
If it's any consolation, the class that I took, it was an immersive French class, and I think I got a D in it, and I had to beg for it to be dropped off of my college transcript going forward, because
French is hard though, for me at least.
But it was a class for children, and so it wasn't I wasn't like Doogie Howser. I wasn't hanging out with adults. I was in there with a bunch of other kids, and I have terrible, and at that point, terrible untreated ADHD. It's bad news. And so I was taking this class and just fucking off, I think, So anyway, it doesn't matter. 11 years later, 15 years later, I got my associate's degree, and then 2 years to get my bachelor's, another 2 years to get my bachelor's degree, and then law school, 3 years. I was going to do a joint JD social work degree, but that would have been an extra year, and I was just so done.
Yeah. Well, you get burned out. That's what for me was. Yeah. And sometimes for me, that's in my master's program, I just was there was so much going on in my life. I was doing a lot of great things. I was I don't really need this particular degree. I knew I wasn't going to be in arts management. So I was I'm good. And I felt like it was the best decision for me. So I feel like you doing that was the best decision for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was ready to be done. My daughter was going into high school, so I was ready to start my career and
Yeah.
And the work that I did or planned on doing as an attorney was kind of social work. Mm-hmm. I planned on going into legal aid, which I did, and I worked in for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Did housing in East St. Louis.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know this. See, this is why I love doing interviews, because I learn things about people. Until you sit down with people, you don't really know a lot what they're about or what they do. And there's a lot of times where this is kind of the kind of sad side about the biz, as they call it, is everything's really about just and I am guilty of it too. I'm always about you got to make connections, you got to market yourself, you got to do social media, you got to do this. But this is kind of the stuff that I really like, is getting to know, because obviously I respect you as a performer, a comedian, a producer, a writer, and obviously with your multiple degrees. But what's nice is being able to sit down and actually talk with somebody without being worried about being and she needs to book me. I'm oh, she just likes to sit down and talk to me for me. Which is what I lead to my next question. A lot of people, always say Cori's so humble. She's so nice. She's always very kind. And I will say Cori is one of the most welcoming people. If you're newer to comedy, she's always very kind. Even if sometimes I'll be in a rush and you're it's cool, girl, just wanted to say hi. And you're never demanding, some people will be oh, Molly, she's just running around, oh, she's just a nut. But you're just so accepting of me and my personality. I mean, like, not to be
It's
like,
the
how do you
only
stay
way
so
to
humble?
be.
Oh,
you just have to,
yeah.
like, people are just living their life and doing their best. You know, I don't think anyone is malicious. No one has malicious intent. A lot of people are tunnel visioned and focused on their next thing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot to balance every aspect of our life. And it is demanding. And a lot of, you know, the cliche is, of course, you never know what someone is going through.
That's how I feel, though. Yeah, you never know.
And so it doesn't behoove you to be shitty to someone because they're, you know, maybe they are a little snippy or whatever. It doesn't, like, taking things personal is the worst.
That's what I love about you, is that you never take anything personal. And it's like the crazy, like it's like the craziest thing. You don't take anything personally. But what I love about you is, like, you've improved throughout your comedy, but you're still so humble and you're still so welcoming. So I was just to say, it's just a natural nature to you. And I loved hearing you say that. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, no, I think that being able to meet people, you know, wherever they are, and, you know, if you have to sit with someone on the floor because they're having a bad day, like, that just means so much. And I haven't always treated people well, and there have been times in my life
we have our moments. Same here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I wish I had been kinder or more empathetic, but I don't think that people are motivated by nastiness. I think most people are just kind of chugging along.
Sure.
You know? And so if you can help someone chug along just a little bit, then.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're always very receptive to when people are like, hey, Cori, I have this idea. Do you want to talk about it? And I know, like, you know, you learned to also talk to other comedians. Like, sometimes I feel like it's a weird thing to be like, hey, I need help. But I feel like, you know, we have a great community where, you know, we reach out to other comedians, be like, hey, you produced a show. How did you do this? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We are. Yes. I feel very, very lucky that there are some people in our community who are just excellent mentors, especially, like, when it comes to running shows. Like, Chris Sear is really, really
the king of it. Yes.
Yeah,
the godfather of comedy, Chris
Sear.
He's
so great. Yeah, he really helped me when I was working on, and he's on the show.
Yes.
When I was thinking about putting it together, like, he gave me a lot of really solid, great advice about how to handle that. And Chad, of course, is really, really good for, like, bouncing ideas off of. And I've, you know, intermittently done writing groups with him, and he's absolutely wonderful. We have really great mentors and resources.
Yes.
In a lot of the people that we get to work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the open mic too, by the way, what got you started with, you were like, you know, there's not really a lot of mics on Sunday, so I started one, but why in Illinois at the American Legion?
Well, Illinois specifically because it's a comedy desert. There used to be, of course, Hey Guys, but I think that was kind of before my time.
Yeah, it was. I had started comedy here in St. Louis right as Hey Guys actually I think might have closed, or maybe it was still a little bit open and then a little bit open and then it was open and I think it might have shut down. So yeah, I understand what you mean.
And yeah, so pre-pandemic we were doing the Schmidt Show in Troy, Illinois, and that was great. That was wonderful. My mother is the person running the American Legion in O'Fallon, and so
really?
Yeah, and so she was.
I love that.
It was actually her. It was really, she really wanted to bring us in there to do that, to have the open mic, and I am hoping for more showcases there. I think that those are going to be a really, really good fit there. Our headliner shows, I think those are going to do really, really well there, because I tried one in February, right before the world shut down, and it was excellent. It sold out. It was like a dinner and show, and that's kind of what I'm interested in doing there.
Those
now.
are always fun. Yeah.
And so I think that for the show in January, there is going to be a dinner dinner available for that too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
See, I love the dinner, like the cabaret kind of style, like dinner and a show. Like there is something really fun about that. Like, especially people are like, oh, that's one of the first things people do when they're going to a show. They're like, well, are we going to go eat first? Or like, what's the plan? So having those two combined, I always have felt that's kind of more, it's easier. Sure,
Yeah.
I can eat and see a show. Yeah.
It's a Friday night. And I think the one that we did pre-shutdown, that was a Valentine's Day show. I think that was a Friday too.
Oh, nice.
And so, everyone is kind of like struggling to like, get home from work and transition into their evening. And so if you don't, I feel like it's a good idea to offer food for the show, because maybe they haven't had time yet. You don't know.
Oh, yeah. Or for people like me, I'm just hangry. I'm like, I need some food. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to laugh when you're so hungry.
I know. That's the worst is like, especially when we're at Mike's and they run a minute and I'm trying to like, because I want to sit and watch people's sets, but I'm like, oh my God, I haven't eaten anything all day. I need to go get something to eat. So I appreciate that. We could talk about my food habits all day. It's all good. So speaking of holidays, we've been talking about that too.
Okay.
We'll switch gears for a second. Do you have a special like holiday memory that you enjoyed? Or is it just kind of like, you talked a lot about charity work and giving back. Was there maybe like a certain organization you gave to one year and it meant to you?
I used to, when I worked at Land of Lincoln in East St. Louis, I used to volunteer with the Girls Club. And we would do an all Saturday kind of, Girls Club was a subset of Join Hands, which was an organization that not only, so with Girls Club, we would take young ladies from Roosevelt Housing, and on Saturdays we would take them to do things like, I don't know, we'd go to the zoo or we'd go swimming for the afternoon. And there was a boys club, and then there were families kind of associated with Join Hands. It had all of these different layers. But at the holiday party, all of the families and all of the girls and boys would all kind of come together, and it would be like this raucous fun day where we would, there were cakewalks, and there were all kinds of like, there's so much food and fun and like Santa and just like Christmas explosion. And that was something that I really loved. That is one of my most fond holiday experiences. And my daughter was born the day after Christmas. My daughter's birthday is the 26th. And so I have so many great, birthday pictures of her with Santa Claus. It was invariably, her birthday picture was her picture with Santa Claus. So sweet.
Oh my God. I'm so touched right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, both of those stories were lovely.
Thank you. Her first, I was in labor through the year, the Christmas when she was born. I was already dilated a week before.
You weren't partying it up? What? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was very uncomfortable all week. And so I was like, huffing around on Christmas Day, but I got this wonderful, beautiful present on the 26th. She was absolutely perfect. She had these long feet. So long.
Oh my God.
And she was just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh my God.
So that was a very, that's an excellent Christmas memory. Her name is Abigail.
Abigail, that's right.
Abby.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Abigail. Abby. I was like, this will come out a little bit, obviously, more before your birthday, but since it's our holiday episode, oh my God, birthdays, holidays, like, Giving back. I'm really I'm so inspired right now. Like my day went from 0 to 100 and it's all Cori Stewart's favor.
Stop it.
Key, are you back there? Hold on. Yes. Key, can you get on the mic and tell us your favorite holiday memory? Not to put you casually on the spot.
I would have to say, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I hear myself.
I can hear you.
Okay. Probably the same. Like my family always had the tradition of just giving back. We would have Christmas Eve with all of our family. Christmas Day, we'll actually go out and volunteer to help people, and we'll feed the homeless and stuff. I think one that I for sure remember would be when I was younger, probably in like middle school. I've never been out to like the homeless people and stuff in downtown St. Louis. So we went out and like just having a conversation with people, and like they're just so grateful and thankful. And I'm like, wow, like literally I've had nothing on Christmas, but these people are out here in the cold and we're helping them with just giving them meals. Like it is very much a great time to remember, just like giving back for sure.
Absolutely. Key, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but that was also really touching. Oh my God.
I love eating too. So I'm going to throw that in there. I do love that we have a themed Christmas every year. So we just change whatever cuisine we're doing. This year, I believe it's like Turkish or something.
Yum. Nice.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, well, that's where we get cooking with Key then. I love that. Yes. Well, Key, yes. Key, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself too? Do we have any social media that we can follow you on? And then we'll get back to Cori.
Yeah, you can follow me. Oh, here's my handle at the Casually Molly podcast.
Oh,
That's
don't
how
worry.
people can follow me, by getting those numbers up.
Yes, absolutely. I know. I'm like, just follow me on Instagram, okay? But yes, Key is the best. She works here at Midcoast Media and as well just freelances all over the city in St. Louis, Missouri. Women in media represent. I love it. But yeah, speaking of, women in media, women in comedy, women taking over, what advice would you give yourself maybe back then when you first started comedy that maybe now, just even 3 years into doing comedy?
Well, I think that your needs are ever changing. Any comedian's needs are ever changing. And so for the first year post or pre-pandemic, I was doing so much.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm looking at trying that again for the next, after the holidays, after I get through the benefit and making ornaments and things.
All the things, yeah.
Because I'm also selling wood burnings at a gallery in Springfield, Illinois, too, now.
So accomplished. I love it. Yes.
Stop. That's... I love doing it, and it's challenging, and I really enjoy it. But I think that it's okay to give yourself periods of rest. And I got really, really sick because I was pushing myself so hard. I lost a ton of weight, some of which I've gained back. But like my first year in comedy, I felt like I always had to be doing something for stand-up. I didn't really have much else that I was doing. And so I guess because of the pandemic, it was a forced slowdown. And I was able, I really find that I need to be physically active. And I need to be, stand-up is creative, but I need to be creative in another way. And so I think honoring, allowing myself to have different components of my personality and my needs met is really good. I think that by doing that, you only benefit your stand-up more.
Oh, I agree.
Because if all you do is hang out at open mics, that isn't really gonna touch an audience.
Sure.
If all you can do is talk about weirdos that you meet doing stand-up. You've got to have other things, I think.
Sure.
You've got to be like a fleshed out, complete person. You can't just be like
well, it
a
makes
comedy
you more
bot.
interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let yourself be a human and not a comedy bot. That's my advice.
That's such a good point though. And I've seen your pictures on Facebook and Instagram. You probably see I love everything she put. I'm like, love it, like it. It's the same thing. But it's because I understood, especially when I was kind of in a place where I was hitting a crossroads of like theater and, and you feel like you kind of have to choose where you want to live, what you want to do, what's your life direction. And I loved that you were using nature. Like I've seen you've been hiking a lot, and I love that you use that as an outlet, because I used to walk my dog Polly. I would just walk her to I had a membership to parks, and I would just in Cincinnati, I would go to all the different parks of Hamilton County area located there. And then when I moved here, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you're hustling through mics, and I felt like pre-pandemic, I felt like I was doing so much, and now I feel like I'm kind of falling into that again. But
it's definitely picking up for me, and but I'm kind of ready for it too.
Same.
Like I've been doing a lot of painting and a lot of a lot of creative art projects, but I'm going to be very ready in January to kind of focus on it. And we live very long lives. We have so much beautiful time to fill, and so comedy is hard because you sometimes, at least for me, I'm like, I have to accomplish this in 3 months, or I have to get to here in a month, or if this person is doing that, I have to be doing that, and I have to be able to do that in a year or whatever. But I think that we can organically make our own timelines, and based on like what our by honoring our needs. So, my need for the last 4 or 5 months was to focus on my health a little bit more. And so I was hiking a lot more, and I climbed 2 mountains this summer because I was like, I want to get these 14ers in there before the end of the year. I don't know why. It was just something that I felt training for that and having that to look forward to was something that was, something that was very beneficial for me. And then the accomplishment of it, I don't know that I'll ever do it again, maybe, but the accomplishment of it was something that I needed this year. And then going, making sure that I'm working out, or making sure that I'm eating well. And I don't always do that great, but
and that's something I can relate to you on that, because I think I told you this, I joined a dance studio called Yes Honey in the Grove. Shout out to them. So oh, it is so fun. You'll have to come with me and take a class.
I'd love to.
My best friend from college, dancing. Shout out to Julia Crump. She's great. We do it together. I haven't been able to do it these last couple of Mondays because I've been recording a podcast, but I'll do it sometimes on Wednesdays or Saturday mornings. And even Jimmy, my boyfriend, was like, there's such a change in you when you go to this dance class. He's like, you are so excited. Like, I come back and I'm like, I learned how to do the baracha. I'm like, oh, this is so fun.
Dance. I took dance for 10 years when I was, when I was a kid. And so.
Oh my God. We would have been best friends.
I know.
The only thing is that I didn't take my SAT at 11 because at 11 I was eating an ice cream sandwich. But that's about it. But go ahead.
I was taking it literally while I was eating the ice cream sandwich literally while I was taking the test.
All right. So I just would have been there for moral support. Like, and I'm like, I'll have an ice cream sandwich too. I love it. But go ahead. Sorry. Dance is like, I love to dance. Like nothing makes me happier. Just it's so freeing. And there have been times in my life, especially when it's so joyous. It's just so freeing and liberating. And there were times in my life when I quit drinking, people think that you have to be drunk to dance. Oh
yeah,
no.
That, a lot of people think they aren't able to loosen up enough, but I remember a couple of times, like after I quit drinking when I was younger, like mid-20s, and I was just like going out to clubs and stuff, and that's when I was
I had those days. Yeah, I know.
And and so like I remember doing that again, but with alcohol, and experiencing like this kind of like exuberance all over again. It was like a rebirth, and it was so exciting. And you know, I've found that like it's weird. I kind of get that weird and lame, but I kind of get that like in Zumba classes. Like it's just so like it's so fun.
Yes.
It's so and it's so like nobody's really paying attention, and you can just go batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
do whatever you want.
And they want you to have fun in Zumba.
Yeah.
I used to do it with my mom. It's like we would do that.
Yeah,
She even had arthritis, but she's like, "Hello, I'm here." Yeah,
It's so lame, but I love it.
Exactly.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Hell yeah.
So fun.
Zumba's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to come with me. It's so
yes,
great.
yes.
Yeah. They do like hip hop. They'll do like pop. I like on Saturdays, I did a twerk out.
Fun.
I see this white girl twerk. Oh man. I think I told Key about it. I was like, man, it is hard to twerk. Like, I can't believe this is going to be on a podcast. It is hard to twerk, Molly Ambergy. But it was so fun, and the instructor was great. And I never, even though it was one of the hardest dance classes I had ever taken, man, it was really, you felt great when you walked out.
Like hip hop dance classes are super fun.
Yes.
It's so fun.
And I love that you hit too on that point where it's just like, you know, sometimes in comedy you feel like you're like, oh, you know, the 3 months I have to do this, and then I have to be like at this person. But I have found, and I think I have just because of my theater background, I went through that stage of theater when I was in my early 20s because I was like, oh, well, my friend's going to be a dramatic role. So like I have to be in this dramatic role. But in reality, when I started embracing these comedic roles of where I was like, oh, I'm really having fun doing this, I had to stop really giving a shit about the other people. I don't know if that's what you meant, but I think that's just kind of what hit me. And the same with comedy. I had to come to that point where I was like, you know, I have to just kind of focus on here's what I'm going to do. Here's my, you know, my journey of it. It's really made me happier as a comedian. And I feel like you've done a really great job of that, of being like,
thank you.
No, really, like it's really cool to see, you know, somebody starting out in comedy, pursuing it, and then suddenly like starting doing mics and doing shows, and now you're giving back to the community, which let's put that flyer up there on YouTube one more time so that we can get it out. Cori, tell us about again the date of it and where we can see the here we go, we're popping it up where it's going to be.
All right. It's going to be at the Heavy Anchor on December 16th, the pop-up market with local vendors, artists, food, candles, jewelry, all kinds of good stuff. That's going to start at 7, and then a stand-up comedy show at 8 o'clock with some wonderful local comedians, Angela Smith, Matt Barnes, Chris Sear, and Ella Fritz hosting. It's just going to be a really, really fun show and a great opportunity to pick up holiday gifts. So
and Cori Stewart. Hello.
I'll be there too.
Yes. Well, Cori, our time together has ended. I know.
Oh, no.
Pow, pow. But I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Oh, of course. Yes. For those of you who have tuned in, thank you again for supporting the Casually Molly podcast. You could really do us a solid. Follow us at the Casually Molly podcast on Instagram. Also, we have a TikTok now. You can see my stand-up videos and the different clips from different episodes. We're starting to put those up with captions at Casually Molly on TikTok. So give me a follow. Give us a follow. And then, of course, you can stream Casually Molly on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you stream podcasts, basically. I hate to say that, like, stream, subscribe, but could you also do all those things? Good. Now that we have casually ended this episode, I always ask Cori, what are you going to casually do now?
I'm going to casually go home and make a shit ton of ornaments for the vendor fair on December 16th at the Heavy Anchor.
Yes. And I'm going to go make some popcorn. I'm going to casually make some popcorn at home and turn on a Christmas movie. I'm watching. Oh my God, you're going to laugh. So listen, you're going to laugh because I'm watching a movie. I still haven't finished it yet, but it's called Single All the Way on Netflix. And it's like, oh my gosh, for anybody, just look up Single All the Way on Netflix and then you'll understand why I'm laughing. Because as silly as it is, I'm also really intrigued if he's going to end up with his roommate. So nobody spoil this. Hopefully by the time this gets out, I'll have watched
All
the whole movie.
the comments are going to they're all going to be.
Nobody tell me if he ends up, or if he casually ends up with the roommate or doesn't end up with the roommate.
I don't think her goal is that they casually end up together. Most people aren't casually trying to end up with anyone.
But they might, because it's a Christmas movie. They casually end up in the garage or on.
They're seriously ending up together.
All I know, you casually went on a blind date, and I say
casual.
that.
Yeah,
okay,
that's casual.
But you know what? So oh my God, I'm sorry, Key, but this is going to make you laugh too. So basically, there's this movie called Single All the Way on Netflix, as I've been talking about, and basically, this man, he was involved with the cardiologist, but the cardiologist is married, so he's like, oh my God, what? So then he's like, well, now I told my family I was going to bring a surprise home, and I can't bring the surprise. So he's like, I'm going to bring my roommate home. So we're like, and the roommate, everybody's like, I should have been, everybody's like, why aren't you with Nick? Why aren't you with the roommate? And Nick's like, oh, we're friends. So now I'm like, is this going to change? And now he's on a blind date on a ski slope. And then I had to stop watching the movie. So is he going to end up with the hot trainer on the ski slope? Or is he going to end up with TaskRabbit Nick? I don't know. So I casually have to find out when I go home.
I have to find out now too, I think.
But if you decide not to watch it, I'll just text you. Don't worry about it.
It's probably better.
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Jimmy's like, I can't believe you're watching a movie called Single All the Way. I'm like, I just watch Christmas movies. I watch them on Hallmark too. I love it. Hello, look at my shirt, guys. Okay, don't worry about it.
Uber festive.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So festive.
But you know what's really uber festive? If you show up at the Heavy Anchor on December 16th for some art and some comedy. Oh, we said we were going to show it one more time, but let's just do it again. We'll just do it again. Okay. All right, everybody. I love you. Cori, you're the best.
I love you.
Key. Love it. Cutie. Bye, everybody.
See you later.